today. Even StreamYard didn't like us, so no tech is favoring our broadcast today. Nick, appreciate you being on for a special crossover. I don't know if it's considered a crossover, a special guest. I never
No idea.
mentioned this, but we're going to have fun anyway. Aubrey, why don't you say hi, introduce yourself to the 6.5 people watching today, and who you are in the business.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Aubrey Montgomery. I own and operate my own insurance firm. We are a category. We take care of all of our customers with property and casualty for the most part. I'm really excited to be here today.
Awesome. So what brought you into the property and casualty space? Because that's probably a pretty interesting story to share.
Yeah, not many people grow up thinking, oh, I'm going to sell auto insurance my whole life. Like that's not most people's goal. So I actually graduated from college with a teaching degree, but always had a background in wanting to educate people just in general and help them have more understanding and more knowledge. And for me, I also worked a lot in customer service. I graduated during the 08-09 recession when school districts were hiring, they weren't replacing retired agents. And happened to find an ad on Craigslist, believe it or not, for a customer service rep at an agent's office. I signed up for it. And like I say, the rest is history. I got licensed pretty quickly, became a lead salesperson, and then was there for a few years and then moved into a corporate role. I do also kind of blame my parents. My mom has been in insurance my whole life. She was mainly on the commercial side of things. And my dad owned a small business. And I say I just kind of souped it up on steroids and now opened up my own insurance agency.
Awesome. Nick, I know you've got some family ties
Yeah.
in the business as
That-
well.
It's remarkably like my story with just a different line of insurance. Down to the nobody grows up thinking that they want to grow up to be a life insurance salesman joke. So I feel like insurance people all over the world come from more or less a similar background. We all end up coming into it more or less by accident, and usually because we knew somebody else who was involved in insurance in some capacity. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. I always say, look, I went to college thinking I was going to teach middle schoolers history, and now I teach grownups about insurance. So
yeah.
sometimes that's a little harder.
Awesome. What would you say the hardest part is? I'm not even sure if we're allowed to use specifics, so that's why I said big brand franchise. Maybe you can
Yeah.
can or can't say what I can or can't say. What's the hardest part about running a franchise like that?
Yeah. So with running a franchise under the #1 car and home insurer in the country, it's really a blessing because you get to have the big brand behind you, which is really helpful. There's already a name, but now I have to work on diversifying myself. We've got more agencies across the United States than McDonald's. So you have to kind of really create your own niche within the market so people know why to do business with you in addition to the big brand. It's also great because we have a wealth of resources that we have access to help us when it comes to marketing, looking for prospects, keeping customers, underwriting, all of that. So I'd say all in all, it's been a really good experience. I've been with the same company for 12 and a half years, but opened up my agency a little over 3 years ago. So it's been a great ride. And I think there's been a lot of good benefits with being with one of the big guys out there.
Interesting.
What was it? So what's the road like because I feel like most property and casualty lines follow a fairly similar roadmap when it comes to your career path, the trajectory. You start off getting hired by an agency, and then you become an agent working for like a master agent, and then you go on to eventually theoretically open up your own agency. What is that actually like from the inside? Like I know what it looks like from out here.
Yeah.
What's that process look like to get to where you are now, starting as like just a licensed P&C agent?
Yeah. So we have a couple of roadmaps that most people take. Like we do have people that come in externally and have no experience in the insurance industry and want to become agents. Every single person who decides that they want to be an agent does go through an intensive internship process. So you don't just get handed a set of keys and say, good luck today. Now you're starting a business. So you do have a support pathway where you have training that's pretty intensive for about 20 weeks before opening up and launching your agency. But if you are already in the company you're going from that team member role and you want to move into that agency, that pathway has looked really different for people. I know some people who have been team members for 13 plus years in agencies' offices as their own producer. And then they've kind of learned the tricks of the trade from that agent. And then they've gone into that internship process. Some people want to do it on a much faster pace. So it's kind of varied. I know I kind of took a non-traditional route with moving into a corporate role before becoming an agent. Not everybody does that. So I kind of got a little bit of both of the best of both worlds, if you think of it that way.
Interesting. Yeah,
Mhm.
no, that makes sense. That is interesting because it's such a different mindset, it seems, from the life insurance side, where so often on the life and health insurance side, both, you end up with everybody's coming into the business looking to be their own little mini agency, like
Mhm.
an agency of one.
Mhm.
And so people come into the life insurance side, and their whole goal is to just from day one hit the ground running and be like their own agency and maybe even hire agents below them, but like they're coming in for that agency owner perspective. And it does seem like there's a much more traditional job path on the property casualty side, and a little bit more structure that's been built out. So it's interesting to hear kind of how that functions because it's very different than
Yeah.
the world Chris and I live in for the most part.
Absolutely. Why do you think, or I don't even know if this happens, or maybe the person's replaced, do franchises in your world fail, or does the person that was given that franchise or earned that franchise get replaced?
Yes. So I will start with, do people fail? Yes. I mean, it's a business. So there's always opportunity to exceed expectations and do really well. There's also opportunities to fail. There's some people that just get into it and go, oh, this really isn't for me. And then they choose to follow other pursuits. So that's definitely something that does happen. And then, of course, we have people that retire or agents that unfortunately pass away. And then we make sure that we're taking care of those customers. Our world's a little different where it's not a buy-in process for your book of business. So the company actually owns the customer base and then they kind of divide it out as they see fit with other qualified agents in the area while replacing somebody coming into that role.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, what do you do to retain clients? Because on our end, especially in the simplified life space, it's a very quick one call close, a very quick deposit, a very quick transactional type relationship, unless the agent learns to mature it forward. But on your end, there's not as much front end profit. Keeping people on the books is far more important. And I'm sure people 10 levels above you are looking at analytics like that. So,
Mhm.
how are you taught and how do you practice client retention?
Yeah, client retention, you nailed it. The ROI is on the relationship and the longevity that you have with your customers. So that's kind of a multifaceted area of our business. We do a lot of things where we are very personable. We provide a lot of education, a lot of empowerment. We try to drive the value that customers get from our agency. And we are hands on, we are interactive. So our customers do hear from us at every renewal. We give them the opportunity to have time to schedule appointments, to have conversations with us. We're constantly checking in. If we see that there's a life event going on social media, or we see something in the newspaper, we're contacting them. If they're a business owner that we have insured for their property and casualty products, we're inviting them to come out to some of our networking events that we do out in the community. We also do a lot of community appreciation events. We send Thanksgiving cards. We contact them on their birthday with cards and a contact point. So we do a lot of different layers to try to build that relationship. And like I say, you're part of our family when you join our agency. So it's not just a one time, you call us. I say, hey, if you want a 1-800 number, we got other companies out in the market that you can go talk to.
Yeah.
Interesting. Nick, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, no, I think that is really interesting. I would love if you're okay with sharing, like I don't know, maybe this comes the tools that you use to track this stuff maybe come from corporate in your particular instance, but
Mhm.
if they don't, like are you willing to share I'm sure you've got at this point thousands of clients that you're trying to keep track of. How do you stay on top of that kind of client follow-up, making sure that people are getting reviews? Like what's like the processes that are in place? I think that's an aspect of the business that a lot of people on the life side in particular are just entirely missing out on.
Mhm.
They just don't even think about it. And on the health insurance side, it is a thing that I think people really, really try to do. And I often struggle with because there's not a lot of guidance and people are having to kind of reinvent the wheel on their own in that respect.
Yeah, we are very lucky that we do get a customer relationship management platform that we
That's
have
great.
access to, and it's there. So we track a lot of our processes through that. So I'm able to pull a list of anybody that's got a birthday this month, and then I can organize it by what day. So that way we're making that contact point when it's meaningful. We're able to pull a list of all of our renewals that have been mailed out from our corporate headquarters. So that way we can touch base when it's most appropriate for them. So we do that. A lot of the other pieces, it's just a matter of, hey, they called in to make a payment. We want to talk to them about what's going on. Oh, we found out that, they're pregnant and getting ready to have a baby in a few months. We notate that in our customer relationship management platform. And then we have those follow-ups kind of built out upon that. So that way we can make a more meaningful impact. And those are probably the biggest ways. The system really helps us a lot, but we do live in the neighborhoods that we serve. And so we do see people out. I mean, I've got kids that are in my daughter's school, so I see them when I'm at school functions. We're in a lot of organic lead generating networking groups, so we see a lot of our customers there. Like I have one of my groups on Monday, and I've got about 5 customers that are in that room. So that's a touch point. So when I'm hearing that there's something going on, I'm kind of taking that information back and making sure to congratulate them or send a card or text message or email.
Right. Yeah, and making sure that they have a face to put with their auto homeowners business liability, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that they're not thinking of it as just my insurance, but they're thinking of it as, Aubrey, my insurance agent.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting. Now, I have a good one
Mm-hmm.
for you. Everybody isn't your client. Not everybody qualifies for a product you have. Not everybody can get it. Not everyone can buy it. I think, especially in the final expense side, agents struggle when they can't write someone something or they find out that person's just not reliable. Like they've lapsed 3 straight policies and they're just not responsible, and having to cut ties and give up the chase and realize not everybody really is going to become and stay your client. How do you
Mm-hmm.
manage that kind of like mindset wise when you think you're going to get someone and you don't, or you lose a client, and not letting that disrupt your office environment?
Yeah, so we kind of operate of not, like you said, not everyone is our client, and we have to be okay with that. And we have to be able to say no to some things and to some customers to be able to say yes to 5 more. So we really spend our time when we're prospecting trying to find the right client. So really defining who our ideal client profile is and making sure that we're engaged in prospecting that type of customer. So that way we don't have to break up with so many customers that may not fit our ideal profile. And I will be honest, there were people that will weed themselves out because we do set expectations when we start that relationship, whether they are new to our agency or they transferred in from another one. Or maybe their agent retired and they were reassigned to us. We schedule calls with them and we let them know how our agency operates. And we kind of let them decide too. Hey, if we're too much for you, we get it. Maybe we might not be the best fit for you. So we kind of put that back on their plate as well. And if we're not the right fit with them, we never just turn people away. We always find resources. I like to say my customers call me for anything from how do I get, what refrigerator should I buy to where do I go get a new car? All of those kinds of things we want to be a resource for. And if we're not the right fit, we've got people that we can connect them to put them in a better spot.
It's interesting, Nick. My real estate agent does the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
She's a resource for any possible thing you could come up with locally. Like I need somebody that can just be a handyman that isn't going to rob me, but can change the doorbell.
Yep.
Or I need the entire attic renovated. I swear she probably has a spreadsheet in her iPad that has any possible local resource. And that's kind of the same concept that you're talking about. You might not be
Mm-hmm.
able to, just having that constant touch with somebody has them thinking, I know to call them when they need a thing. And when that thing becomes insurance again, they call you again and not 1-800-INSURANCE.
Yep.
Speaking of multiple products, how do you try to make, or what is the advantage of getting multiple products in that same home or with that same client?
Yeah, we want to try and help our customers meet multiple needs at the same time. We try to be as much of a one-stop shop when it comes to their property and casualty needs as possible. So we always talk about the benefits of what the bundling can do for them because they get additional discounts on both of those policies, like auto and home, for example. There's discounts there. If they add on additional coverages with different policies, there are opportunities for them to get additional discounts there as well. So for us, it's really about explaining that. I think in the marketplace, you probably have seen a lot of insurance companies talking a lot about bundling. So it's a much more common practice nowadays than it's been in the past, because the more customer policies you have in place, the longer you're going to hold on to that customer as well, and the better underwriting risk that they typically are. So we definitely try to do our best with making sure that we're contacting them. And we do have, sometimes we have policy changes or new coverages that come out. So we do reach out to customers at that point and make sure that they have that information. So if that might be something new that they need to consider, they know to schedule a call.
You know, it's interesting, Nick. As soon as that Polish Falcons $50,000 instant decision, I don't even know why it's that cheap, product came out, or anytime a new product comes out, I'm constantly thinking, who might this benefit? Who couldn't I have helped before that I might be able to help with this? How does this fit into my bag? That again, it's another cross-compatible thing we all do without realizing it. That, you know, something new comes onto the market or that you're able to offer it to someone you already know. Nick, what else you got for him?
Oh gosh. Well, like I want to get into um I would love to talk about like processes and you know, the things that you do to set yourself aside, especially if you're not necessarily the least expensive. And in the property and casualty world, you know, I know there's oftentimes difficulties with people just shopping based on price. And how you and I'm thinking of like how this then applies to the Medicare world, where price is not a factor, right? Where, you know, there's no such thing as differently priced products. Um, and so, and I'm just like, what are some of the things that you guys do to stand out when somebody calls you up and they're like, hey, you know, why should I go with you instead of, you know, the company that's on TV that's saying that they're going to beat everybody's price for like, you know, like how do you separate yourself? How do you make yourself seem special for somebody that doesn't know you yet? Like, before, you know, they haven't had that chance to build that relationship with you and like earn that trust when you're first acquiring a client. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah. And I mean, for everybody, that's a little different. For our agency, it really comes with my team. We are all really, I will say, everyone is very committed and loves helping our customers and providing our core values, which is the education and empowerment, and doing it with integrity. And so making sure that we're kind of setting that up. We love to build rapport with our prospects and start to get to know them, to draw those connection lines. And for the why us, we do talk about why we're different. You know, not every company is going to be out there supporting your local company. Not every agent is going to be out there talking to you at each renewal or giving you that opportunity to have that conversation. We also do a really comprehensive review, because the policy that you have in place today, a lot of times we ask them, when's the last time somebody's talked to you about what coverages you've had, or how did you come up with these? And making sure that what they have is actually what they need. And sometimes that means we have to have a real conversation about what their financial risk looks like and making sure that they are properly protected. So by kind of setting up some of that conversation piece, that shows how we're different. It's not, hey, you want state minimum coverages, great, here's your price. We're building that value in the initial conversation, and then that just carries on throughout their entire relationship with our agency. And by kind of differentiating ourselves in that way has allowed us to do better business with the customers who want to do business with us. And they see the value of, oh, well, maybe it is a little bit more than where I'm at now. I'm okay with that because I'm getting the value that I need out of that. Or even if we're the same price, it's even more of a win for why they should do business with us, because they do have a choice when they're talking about property and casualty, and they have to have it. So you're going to have to be with somebody. Why not have it be with somebody who's going to be the best advocate for you that they can be?
Well said. I think I've recently experienced that. While you're not my local agent, you referred me to a local agent, another example of good resources. And I was shopping around. Like, I'm doing my due diligence on a Saturday to make sure I'm paying a fair rate, because property and casualty rates can vary and can go up. And depending on how risky you are, I don't have the best driving record. It doesn't work well in my favor. I found some stuff that looked cheaper, but then it really wasn't. And then it really wasn't worth the hassle switching for $20 a month when I was getting practical answers from the agent, also works for the same company, practical explanations, good follow-up, good interest. Like, you know, the customer service side of what we do oftentimes does provide value, and value exceeds price. Price becomes less important in the grand scheme of the way that I feel like this business works. What else would you what do you look at when you're in the business long term? Because especially on our side, in the life side, in the Medicare side, speaking to a lot of new agents, they're just trying to survive. They're just trying to make enough money to pay next month's rent, make enough money to pay last month's rent because they didn't pay it. They're just so stuck in survival mode. So many agents never think big picture. So how do you
Mhm.
think and plan big picture in your world of insurance?
Yeah, so that's always a work in progress for me because I still sometimes can feel that pressure. But I would say it's all about building those consistent, repeatable processes that get you to that bigger goal. So taking a look at where do I want to be at the end of the year, in 3 years, in 5 years, and how am I backing that into what I'm doing today? Because I need to make sure that the offerings that we have, the team that we have, and the training that we have is all on par with what our customers are expecting and the kind of customers that we want to attract. So building good business from the ground up now, even if it's not, hey, I'm making all of the wins I want to win today, but I am building the right book of business overall. So that means sometimes we do have to say no to people that don't align with what we're doing in order to build that basis up because they're going to be the ones that help us drive our growth in the future with bringing in more referrals and helping us build to that overall goal. For me, I also have to sometimes take a step back. I have to schedule it on my calendar because if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't happen. To have that time to go meet with other business owners, even that aren't in the same industry as me, because sometimes they help me think bigger picture than I necessarily will think myself because I'm in the day to day a lot. So making sure that I'm connecting with the right people who can help give me that space to expand where I want to be going in the future is also really important.
You know, one of the most interesting things I ever heard Nick said that probably has made me tens of thousands of dollars, you know, by default. And if people are watching this, I want them to hear those kind of things and make the same kind of money and watch the video all the way to the end because you never know when he's going to drop that kind of gold. Like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss that kind of stuff in the future. It was basically slow down to speed up.
Yeah.
Like he had agents that were struggling to slow down and write Medicare business. But when they did slow down, you actually sped up your business growth. And
Mhm.
that kind of goes right in the grain of people that are operating in survival mode, fight or flight mode. They're not thinking, I can't afford to slow down. Well, if you slow down just a little bit, you actually can become more efficient and more profitable. But I'm not saying become lazy. So, Nick, I just wanted to
Yeah.
recognize one of the most financially smart things you ever said.
Oh, I have a thanks. I appreciate it. It's the whole like slow is smooth and smooth is fast
Mhm.
theory, right? Like you got to go slow enough that you're doing all of the things that you need to do so that you can move as fast as you possibly can. Um, I I'm kind of curious at what goal setting in a P&C agency like yours looks like. Like, do you like how granular do you get? Is it like year-end goals is like your only thing? Are you like shooting quarterly targets? Do you have daily goals? Are you setting your goals based on the number of people you quote? Are you setting the goals based on the number of clients you acquire? Like, how do you approach that goal setting, especially when you've got multiple products that I'm sure you're trying to kind of get a decent blend of, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's been an evolution and a journey because I've seen multiple things. In my prior role, I got to work alongside a lot of agents. So I got to see goal setting across multiple different business owners, which is also really interesting. So typically we all we set annual goals and then we kind of back those numbers in to monthly or quarterly, monthly, and then weekly. And some agents go down to daily. I tend to work off of a weekly goal. I've kind of taken it to we want to grow by this many households because I know that that's going to produce the revenue. Because if I throw, hey, here's this goal for the auto, here's this for fire, here's this for business, here's this for, it becomes too overwhelming for my team and for me. So kind of the analogy of keep it simple. We try to do that. And so we really base it off of the household count. And then I keep on the back end some of my own tracking that I'm monitoring to make sure that we're generating the revenue that we need to generate to continue to grow the agency as needed. So we kind of break it down between how many households we're bringing in, and then we kind of monitor how many people are requoting currently. Is our funnel full enough? And if not, we get out there and get working on old database or going out and doing some additional networking opportunities, asking for more referrals, those kinds of things.
You know, Nick, it has me thinking the whole concept in our industry, and it's not wrong, and it's perfect for the right situation and the right time, is what is your weekly goal? What is your monthly goal? How much AP? How many presentations? How many enrollments are you going to do? But guys like us who are pretty financially stable, pretty well-controlled process, pretty solid. Maybe the goal should be something more similar. Like, I'm going to acquire 5 more human beings today or this week. It doesn't matter if it's a life client or a health client or a referral client, a lead based. I'm just going to acquire 5 more humans that I can put on my book of business. And the premium and the profit from that will come naturally. And I don't have to worry about, God, I got to write $50 a month. My bills are already paid, kind of thing.
Right. Well, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to talk about goals, especially in the context of a renewal-based business like property and casualty, because it is very similar to the Medicare side, where, I mean, my message to agents is constantly, don't worry about your first year commission with Medicare. Only worry about the number of clients you are adding to your book of business. Like if you are putting on 2 clients a week, 3 clients a week, whatever your personal goals are, you're going to end up hitting your ultimate financial goals. It's just going to shake itself out. Like if you're focusing on, I've talked to this many prospective clients, and I know if I talk to 5 clients, it's going to turn into 5 prospects, it's going to turn into 2 new clients. And if I continually do that and I do that consistently, by the end of the year, I will have an extra 200 clients on my book of business, and that's going to translate into an additional whatever. And and it kind of snowballs. Like I'm a big believer in trying to find just the one thing that you're trying to focus on, and it's making sure it's a thing that you actually have control over. Like you can't always control who becomes your client. You can't always control who buys a policy from you, but you can control the number of people that you talk to. And you wanna focus on that thing in a time frame that is large enough to take out statistical noise, but small enough that you're not overwhelmed. Like annual goals are tough because a year is a long time. Monthly goals are even maybe tough. Like a month is still a long time. But daily goals to me is insane because you never know what's going to happen during the course of a day. Like there's too much like variability in any one day. So personally, I like a week. But I do that, for any given person, that's going to be a little bit different. But it is interesting to hear how it works. Again, especially because you have the multiple product lines, how that all pulls together in a different sort of way.
Well said. I want to throw one more out there just because the longer the video, the less people watch it. America has the attention span of a wet nap nowadays. What do you do to balance the responsibilities of the office, the franchise, the employees, and then when the day is over, the door is closed, you're still a business owner. You still want to make sure things are growing and building and developing, but the business isn't open 24 hours a day. How do you manage that balance?
Yeah, that one I'm still learning on too. So I don't know if anybody ever has that formula kind of perfectly figured out. I know that I try and do the best that I can and to set really good boundaries. So I have a family, I've got a younger daughter at home. That time that I get with her is limited in the evenings. So I really try I come in early. I'll start there. I come in early every day to get work done because my daughter's already at school. My husband's already working. And then I try to do my best to turn it off in the evenings after I leave, and I try to leave on time. I do give myself the opportunity to have evening appointments as needed with clients, but I do try and draw boundaries too, because I'm like, hey, everybody needs to have a life at some point. And then the weekends, those are on appointment as needed. But as I continue to grow, people don't always need those weekend appointments. So trying to be okay with making sure I'm giving that space for me, because if I'm not replenishing my cup, I can't give more to my team, more to my customers. And that's really what's important at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Well
the leadership piece is a tricky thing to balance, especially if you don't have a lot of background in leading other people. And I know people come from all different walks. So some people have that, but good for you for finding the ability to kind of do that, because I know that's a thing that, I mean, we were just talking about that on the last video that we recorded, Chris, and I don't know what order they're going to come out in, but the work-life balance bit is so important and so difficult, especially if you've got a team of people that are relying on you. That's that is a tricky thing to balance, and not necessarily something that I am as good at balancing as I would like to be. I find that I frequently will just jump if asked, especially if it's somebody that's working with me, who's one of the agents that I'm working with, asks. It is a difficult thing. So,
Well said. I think
kudos.
we all learn, and if we don't learn, we're going backwards. There's no neutral in this business, be it property and casualty, health, life, or anywhere in between. So I think as long as we're recognizing that we're all trying to learn and get better, we'll get better by default. Appreciate you joining us today for this special Other Side of the Industry podcast on our life insurance and everything in between podcast. Remember, like, comment, and subscribe. Share this out to those that might find it interesting that haven't found us yet on YouTube. And we'll see you again next week.